Hello, everybody. Bill Platt here. I just want to talk to you about this thread here. Greg Boone posted a thing about press releases for coloring book artists, and Don and Ann are both asking questions about it. And rather than explain this, this would be like a 2,000 word post. So I decided to put it into video format instead, so I can spend less time doing that, sharing the actual information. So and he's absolutely right about using press releases to promote your coloring books, especially in your local marketplace, and taking advantage of local SEO to get the word out about your coloring books. He's absolutely right on this, and it's something that I also recommend. Um, but whereas Don asks, how can you explain how an overworked and underpaid artist can spend elbow grease to obtain the data to send out press releases? I'm going to take care of that in this video. So the first thing we need to cover is, what is a press release? A press release is basically a news story that you are sending out to newspapers and to magazines and to radio and TV, hoping they will share the story of your news release with their audiences. So that's the first thing. And generally, we do need to focus our attention on something that makes our story newsworthy. And that's important because if it's a straight puff ad piece, nobody's going to publish it. But if you bring into it a actual um, news slant to the story, you could literally see thousands of newspapers carrying your story. So it's just a matter of, do you want to put in the extra time to do it right, or do you want to cut corners and do it wrong? And if you're cutting corners, you're going to see piss poor results. And if you're willing to spend just a little bit of extra time, you can come out of the other end with a very successful press release campaign. So, where can you send out your press release for free? Now, Don mentions a press release service can run $400 to $500 a month. What, will that encourage a return on investment? Well, maybe. But the thing of it is, you don't have to spend $400 to $500 every month. You can do a one-off where you do just one press release instead of doing monthly press releases. And most people, of course, most people want to get you into a monthly plan because that ensures that they're going to get paid every month going forward. But that's not necessary. You should only send out press releases when you have something newsworthy to share with the global audience. So I don't recommend a monthly service at all, but I do recommend that you step forward as often as you can to create a press release and get that distributed. Now, as far as the $400 to $500 a month, generally those are the kind that are going to send out a paper press release. Now, I'm going to discuss that with a little bit more detail here in a minute, but before I did that, I want to get to the actual press release, where you distribute your press release. Now, there are plenty of places you can distribute your release for free online, and one of them is this site right here, free-press-release.com. And you can distribute through this company for free. And most of these websites like this have a free option, then a paid upgrade option. And sometimes the upgrade option is worth it, but most of the time they're just using, I hate to say they're using scarcity tactics, but that's pretty much what they're doing. They're telling you, if you upgrade, we'll get you better distribution because you'll be higher up on the page. And that's possibly and potentially a good thing, but not always necessary. And so when you use a press release service like this one, they do have distribution through 7,000 partner websites. Of course, you're not going to see your press release on 7,000 websites. And those where you do see your press release, they might look good on paper, but they're not always awesome. You know what I'm saying? For example, when I was using prweb.com to distribute my press releases, most of my press releases found their way to the Forbes.com website. Problem is that it's in a RSS feed on Forbes.com, and very few actual people go to the press release room to dig through press releases. They're going to the news part of the paper to dig through news stories. And one of the advantages in doing it that way is the news story is vetted and the press release is not. So just because they're getting you to 7,000 partner websites doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. You want to get to the news editors and get into the news section of the paper. And that's what our goal should be with this. So freepressrelease.com is one. PR Web, I think they changed their structure where it's a minimum of $80 to use their service, and I haven't used them in years. But press release, freepressrelease.com, I have used them every once in a while. Now, when you get to the actual press releases, you do want to create these press releases from a news angle, and you can see that in this list of press releases here, like Sojourn launches responsive email builder app for Eloqua, or Facebook ads launchpad, 10 reasons why Instagram is growing as a leading social platform, how to tell if your Galaxy Note 7 is safe to use. All these they definitely have a news slant to them, and I'm going to open up, I've got open for you 4 different press releases. We're going to look at each one of them so you can see how they're put together. But let me go first to the Galaxy Note 7 because it's in the news. This is going to be one that probably gets a lot of reprinting in local papers because everybody's worried about their Galaxy Note 7 exploding. So in this story, Samsung tells you that they have new phones out, new Note 7s, that have repaired this particular problem. And in order for you to verify that you have the actual phone, they have the steps in here. There's a blue on white S sticker on the box to let you know that this is the safe version of the Galaxy Note 7. And towards the end of the article, they also say, well, what if you're buying second hand? This is the steps you take to validate that you've got a good version of the phone instead of a bad version of the phone. And then at the end of the article, you got a link to AndroidCentral.com, which is the people putting out this story. So they've tapped into something that's really important, something that a lot of people are going to find interesting and worth reading, and at the end they are promoting you to their website. Now, here's another one. UC Berkeley undergrad launches digital advertising startup. So in the first of it, they're talking about the student and his firm, and then they go into more details here about who the student is and how you can reach this person and how they created a particular company and what that company is going to help their customers do. And then it goes into a section where it's got bullet points. Here's what stands out most about the company in the retargeting space. So it's got 3 bullet points of things that may be newsworthy and may entice a newspaper to publish a press release. The next press release is Oprah's 2016 favorite things list draws global attention to a 10-month-old startup. And then they tell you the story. And again, we're looking at, there are several things about this story that's newsworthy. One, it's a new company. They're a startup. Oprah Winfrey is promoting them. And they are in the recycled industry, producing green products. So each of these have a particular appeal to newspapers to share with their readers. And then they have a mention in the story about Black Friday and how that applies to this particular product. So the next one I want to show you, Real Estate U adds its California Real Estate Online licensing classes. So this is a website that has classes available. And one of the things they do in here that is something I always recommend, Real Estate U is the name of the company, and in each paragraph you're going to be able to see the name of the company in each individual paragraph. And I'm going to tell you here in a second why we want to do that, but I just want to show you that in fact Real Estate U is in each of their paragraphs. California is in some of their paragraphs. I'm just quick scanning. California Real Estate Online Licensing is one of their keywords, and that's right there. And each of these things help a press release to be found, and it helps encourage newspapers to print it. Now, what the main reason we should use the name of our company in every paragraph is simple, because when a newspaper reporter gets this particular press release, their goal is generally to fill up some empty dead space in the newspaper that they couldn't fill up with local content. So they might have 2 column inches over here, or they might have 6 inches of column space 3 columns wide, or they might have 4 column inches in a single column. And so what they want to do is they want to grab a piece of information that will fill that space. Now when they look at this press release here, we're looking at 5 paragraphs. Yep, 5 paragraphs in the actual story, and they may not want to use all 5 paragraphs. They might just need 2 column inches, and they might want to use just 1 paragraph from your press release. Or they may use the 1 paragraph and rewrite it in their own words. And that is often the case. But you do want to have your information in each and every paragraph, so that if they take just 1 paragraph, or they take 2 paragraphs, or they take the whole thing, the people who are reading the story understand who this article is about. Whether it's 200 words or 500 words, they know who wrote the story and what it's promoting. And at the end of, most people who will rewrite the press release will actually include the URL. So make sure you do have your URL somewhere in the press release. And also, at the bottom of each press release, include your contact information. Your telephone number, your email address, your fax number if you have one, and let people know that they can contact you for more information. And most of the time you will not hear from a reporter about more information, but 1 in 100 may actually pick up the phone and call you because you sparked something in them, a curiosity about how they can expand on the story that you presented to them. So be sure to at least make sure that your contact information is there, so that you can answer those questions when people have them for you. So that's the basic structure we're looking at with a press release. Now, there is the digital press release, which is freepressreleases.com and prweb.com and prnewswire.com. And most of these companies do a straight digital distribution of your press release. And then there's other companies that do a print distribution of your press release, usually by fax machine, sometimes by snail mail. And so what they're doing here is, instead of sending it to an email address or asking publishers to come to their website, or instead of sending it out to them in an RSS feed, they are sending them a fax that's going to be printed out on paper at the other end. Now, where that's important to you and for our discussion here, when you are looking at a press release site, you might have 300 or 3,000 press releases in a single day. This particular website has 2 million online press releases in its database. So you're talking about, you're just a drop of water in a great big ocean. However, when you go to the print version, the likelihood of your press release being found and subsequently used is greatly enhanced, because how many people are actually using paper anymore? If you fax them a press release, they're going to get that printout on their fax machine. They're more inclined to look at it because it came through their fax machine. They're more inclined to stick it in a folder for later use in case they cannot use it today. And then what they typically do is they stick it into a folder, and then when they come up with, they've got 2 column inches they need to fill, they go to their filing cabinet and dig out papers and look at each individual paper and figure out which one they want to use to fill that space. So getting it on paper is important. And you can use a service that distributes via fax machine, and that will generally cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for that distribution. Or if you are willing to do the legwork yourself, you can look up, if you know the names of papers in your regional area, or you can go online and find newspaper names across the country. I know, like, I'm in Ponca City and I've got the Ponca City News. Then I can go to the Enid Eagle in Enid, Oklahoma, or Stillwater News Press, Daily Oklahoman, Tulsa World, Wichita Eagle, or I could go ahead to the south of the border and do Dallas Morning News or Houston Chronicle. And so because I know the names of the papers, I can go to each one and look up their information for contacting an editor and getting a fax number from the newspaper and sending them through a fax machine directly to them. If you don't have a fax machine in your house, you might have a printer that has a scanner on the top that has fax machine software with your printing software package. And you can also use services like onlinefax.com, where you can upload basically a PDF or a Word doc, and they will handle faxing it to wherever you need to fax it to. You just type in the telephone number and the cover letter, and then hit go, and the service will take care of that for you. And the last time I looked at the services, it's like $10 a month for a fax service. So that's another way to do that. If you're on a really tight budget and you don't have a printer and you don't have a fax machine, you can go with the snail mail approach. You can print off 30 copies of your press release, get a box of envelopes, put the press release in the envelope, address it, put a stamp on it, and drop it in the mailbox. And that's a perfectly acceptable way to distribute your press release as well. And once again, paper is better. If you can get your press release to a news agency on paper, you are doing much better than if you were distributing that same press release through a digital press release system. So that's the main things right there. And so let me make sure, and see, Greg just answered too, a lengthy one at that. So that's what our approach is. We need to make it newsworthy. We need to distribute, and we don't have to pay big money to have that happen. We don't have to do it monthly. We should only do it when we have something actually newsworthy to share with people. We need to put together our press release so that if somebody takes a single paragraph from our press release, our company information or author name or whatever the case is available within that chapter. So Dawn Boyer, she's going to put her name in every paragraph of that press release, but she'll use it in different ways each time. And you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for this. You can do it all for free. You can do free digital releases, and you can do really cheap paper releases. So, and I do recommend that approach. But the big thing is just go to Google and type in newspapers, and they'll give you the names of newspapers. You don't have to go through and check and get the fax number from the newspaper office. And once you get that fax number, once you've got one, you can go back to that source several times, because what happens there is most companies have the same fax number today that they had 30 years ago. So you're pretty safe there. So anyway, I just wanted to share this information with you. And now I'm going to read Greg Boone's comment, because it looks like he went on a long drawing uh, uh, dictation, much like I did. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found this useful. And I hope you now see that press releases are awesome, and there's other ways to make them even more awesome, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg to do it.